Well, I honestly do believe that. I think America's a melting pot, and if everybody's here to share their different, recipes, if you will, of their homeland, I think that's the cool thing about living in America. Is you get to sample all the flavor.
It's unique to here, and it works.
Yeah.
Multiculturalism can't work.
3 suspects ambushed the 67-year-old man, dragging him to the ground. They kicked and beat him while looking for his wallet.
Brazen attacks against Asian Americans. In San Francisco, this 84-year-old Thai man died after being shoved.
Despite our repeated pleas for help, the crimes are too often ignored and even excused. Why do you believe these crimes are being ignored?
What did you say to him when you got to see him in the hospital?
Dad, wake up. I want him to stay alive and wake up and come and see me again. But he never wake up again.
We need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians, and they need to speak out in their own community.
Co-owner of the factory, Kevin Chan, seen in the gray sweatshirt with green sleeves, immediately steps in and lifts up his shirt to reveal,
I have a concealed carry that needs to protect my business.
Just the sight of it is enough for the man in the black sweatshirt to leave.
So this is Louis, and yes, it's been a while since I've recorded a commentary, but it's because I've lacked for inspiration. Usually when I do a commentary, it's because I've seen something, I've read something, something has inspired me to offer you my commentary. If I lack in that inspiration, then I usually don't put up any videos. You could say I'm quite reactionary, but it's because as a person with a somewhat creative mind, if I'm bored, then I'm not going to do a video, I can't be one of those creators where I put up a video every day. I just can't do it, because if I'm not inspired to do a video, I just don't do it. And the only things going on right now are, Joe Biden being fucking senile, Asians being attacked, and Andrew Cuomo's bullshit in New York, which I couldn't give a fuck less about. Really. I mean, you would think, as a person who's done videos on him in the past, that that's what I'd be talking about here, but I couldn't give a fuck. I really couldn't, because I don't think the guy's going anywhere, and the people that are biting at his ankles, his feet, his toes, 5 seconds ago they were sucking on his toes, but here they are nipping at him now. They just don't have it in them to take the guy down. You might be able to hear some birds chirping just outside my window. It's actually a kind of a nice day, so I want to get through this and go for a walk, because it's actually not warm, but it's not cold either. We're heading into spring. But the inspiration for this commentary was an episode of Louder with Crowder, where Steven's missing because him and his wife are both chronically ill all the time. They suffer from Jordan Peterson syndrome. His wife I can't really speak to, but in terms of Steven, I think that him and Jordan Peterson are similar in that they get really sick, and at the same time, they push themselves in such a way that I find to be unhealthy. It's good to be ambitious, and I applaud both for their success, but it's very clear to me that when you are suddenly drastically ill or injured, as both of them have been, I just kind of look at them and say, well, maybe you need to, pull it back a bit. Maybe don't push yourself as hard as you have been for years and years. It's a bit of a tangent, but it's one of the things I don't like about Jordan Peterson or Steven Crowder. Chronically ill, and Steven more so. Stop pushing yourself so hard. I know you want to be successful, and that is something that we should all appeal to and appreciate, but you obviously are trying too hard. Pull it back a little bit. Take a fucking day off every now and then so you aren't chronically ill and have to fly away to get a fucking medical exam because they don't know what's wrong with you. Tangent aside, this episode of Steven Crowder's show, Louder with Crowder, is hosted by Dave Landau, who is a comic who has been recently added to the show, who I like because he has good chemistry with Steven, because he gets Steven to make darker jokes, to make edgier jokes. He's the kind of comedian that will challenge another comedian by being funnier than him. He'll make edgier jokes, he'll make darker jokes, he'll engage in humor that is has a lot more bite to it. And reflexively, Steven tries to make even edgier jokes, tries to one-up him. So I've liked Dave Landau being on the show because I've noticed that whenever he's on the show, Steven tries harder to be funnier. And the way that he does that is by being edgier, by being more outspoken. So I like that. I like that. I don't like PC Steven Crowder where he's boring, he's insipid, and he's not really trying to push himself in terms of being humorous, even though that really is the point of a show, and he'll say that himself. But Dave Landau, I find to have good chemistry with Steven, because he gets Steven to be edgier and to be more outspoken in a way that I haven't seen Steven do in the past. So I like it. I like it. I like Dave Landau being on the show and inspiring Steven to be this way, because some other fucking left-wing faggot comic was on his show the other day, and it sucked. The whole show sucked. The comedian was, I don't even care what his name is. He's a guy that went on Joe Rogan 1,000 times. He sucks ass. He's PC. He's a fucking faggot. Fuck him. He just went on Steven's show, and he sucked. He made Steven suck. The whole show sucked. And it's because he tries to be a left-wing comic. I'm sorry, but it's just like, rather than, get the other comedian on the show to make edgier jokes, you just suck the oxygen out of the room by just being like, oh, I should say this, or what about this left-wing talking point? It sucks. And so I was really agitated when Steven flies away to deal with his medical issues. Dave Landau hosts a show. They have Steven Crowder's father on for some reason. They do a segment where they're talking about all the Asian hate crimes that are happening across the country. There was just a mass shooting by some douchebag, and I think in Georgia or some fuck knows where, shot a bunch of Asian women and like some other people. For anyone who's watched my channel for a decent amount of time, I've talked about this for a few years, but it seems like it's finally gotten more attention, not because the media's finally woken up and they're just going to say, yeah, black people are attacking Asians. It's because the attacks are getting so brazen and are getting so fucking violent, where they're resulting in murders, that it's basically like force du jour? Like, the issue has been forced so much that you can't avoid it anymore. It's literally on your doorstep. There's no choice but to engage with it now. The issue that I can't stand, it's the inspiration for the video. The Asian attacks are one thing. The news media trying to obfuscate is another. And in any of the videos that I just posted, I'll link them all in the description. Every single one of them does two things. Oh, well, people are obfuscating and not telling the truth. Oh, really? Next bit of the segment. Oh, well, here I am. I'm an Asian actor, and allow me to obfuscate the issue for you. Even when I'm admitting that it's black people overwhelmingly committing these crimes, allow me to obfuscate this with a few instances of some drunk white guy at a bar, or some random woman in a park, some random boomer woman in a park, rather than the huge majority of the crimes, which are by black people on the street. Black people on the street see an Asian person and they just attack. That is the majority of what is going on here. Some drunk white guy at a bar saying some slurs or saying fuck you Asian person, it's nothing. It's meaningless. Okay? A verbal altercation is nothing. The comparison, it's a false comparison. It's a false equivalence. One side is some white guy who's drunk saying something that he shouldn't say, assuming that he's completely in the wrong and that he started the whole altercation, the verbal altercation. On the other side, you have black people randomly, violently attacking Asians, many times older Asian people, and in several instances just straight up murdering them for no reason. I mean, there were the instances of people getting robbed. Okay, that's just standard robbery. But a bunch of these examples are just straight up black people see an Asian person and they just fucking attack. There's no reason. There's no attempt at, robbing them or whatever. They're just straight up, I see Asian person, I attack. It's like some sort of like racist meme that you'd see on like an image board or something, or you know, from somebody who's a part of the alt-right or something. Like a white nationalist puts out a meme about a black person. I mean, there's instances that are like 1-for-1 for meeting that meme. It's terrible what's going on. And the fact is that it's gotten so bad, in the instances have become so violent, that there is no escaping the fact that it has to be discussed. And the reality is basically you have to choose what we're going to do. We're either going to ignore these crimes and allow them to continue, or we're going to have citizens that are willing to use violence against black people who are, you know, defensively. When black people attack them for whatever reason, Asians use violence against them to defend themselves and others, other Asians. Or we're going to have to basically tell the police to start actually doing their jobs again. I mean, people are talking about the fact that, oh man, violent crime is off the charts in New York City and all across the country. Violent crime is all over the place. It's crazy. It's exploding. It's like, well, I mean, the statistics are what they are. The last time I saw the crime statistics, the disproportionality of black people committing violent crime, it rose. It didn't go down, it went up. It went from, what, you know, the meme of 1350 to like 657. Like, that's now the real meme. It's really ridiculous to the extent that the disproportionality of black criminals or criminality, how much worse it has gotten. That it has only gotten worse. And that no one is willing to address it. No one. And it angers me when Steven Crowder, his show, the people on his show, even his own fucking father, on the same show that they do a segment where they talk about this, they talk about these crimes, and I believe they talk about the fact that it is black people disproportionately doing it.
Steven has talked about this before,
What I mean? Like
yeah.
the Asian hate crimes. And,
yes, thank you, Gibby. I needed that. Let's talk
So
about
in reality, the attackers aren't a bunch of white guys in MAGA hats or Jesse Smollett's personal trainers.
Well, this time.
The vast
right, yeah.
majority are black or Arabic.
They turn around like a couple minutes later and say, oh, well, multiculturalism in America is a success story. It's like, are you fucking assholes serious? You're supposed to be the conservatives. This is supposed to be a conservative channel. This is supposed to be the ultra big dick right-wing fucking outlet. And here you are, fucking flacking for multiculturalism within the same episode where you have Asians being violently attacked, murdered by black people disproportionately. It's unbelievable, the doublethink. You're the big dick conservatives, flacking for multiculturalism, flacking for fucking globalism. Guys, come on, please. You know, I gotta say that I do appreciate, as I've already said, Dave Landau being on the show. I do appreciate Steven Crowder's show. I watch it. I like it. I've been liking it more recently because Steven's been more outspoken. He's been pushing the envelope more. And that's what I like. I like to hear, you know, somebody who's making me laugh at certain points and is representing, in some respect, my views and talking about the news and all that. It fills the time. It fills the air. I like listening to it. But I hate the fact that all of a sudden, people on this show who are all allegedly right-wing, like everyone on this show is allegedly right-wing. Dave Landau, I believe, is more of a centrist, more like maybe center-right, formerly center-left. And all of them on a dime just flip. It's just unbelievable. And to me, this is an example of the erosion of right-wing thought. That the intelligentsia of the right are so compromised that the bullshit beliefs and talking points and philosophy of the left has seeped into the right so badly that people who would claim to be more conservative than I am in just about everything, that on a dime, they fucking flip and embrace the idea that multiculturalism in America is functioning. It's like, okay then, you assholes, what the fuck is your argument around immigration, legal or otherwise? If diversity in multiculturalism is good by definition and works by definition, what the fuck is your argument on limiting immigration at all, legal or otherwise? Seriously, those are mutually exclusive concepts. The idea that diversity and multiculturalism is good and immigration should be limited. Those are mutually exclusive. You cannot be in favor of both. You have to pick one. I really can't stand that, like I say, these people who would claim, if I were in the room, to be more conservative than I am, that they're evangelicals and they're frothing at the mouth about abortion and all this, when I really don't give a fuck about abortion and I'm an atheist, they would have some issues with me and my beliefs. I'm a protectionist and so on. They'd have problems about what I believe that would push me away from, me being considered an actual conservative. At the same time, they're taking one of the worst and most untrue things, the most untrue, just on its face, false concepts perpetuated by the left. It is the source of who's pushing it, where it's from, who's pushing it, the left. And they're just embracing it in whole cloth. I really can't stand it. And the thing is, too, is that they're doing this ironically on St. Patrick's Day, when I have said in the past, irrespective of my own racial heritage, it is a fact that Catholic immigration to the United States fundamentally changed the country. I'm going to try to avoid a really long-winded rant about St. Patrick's Day in this, because it is associated with the show and the hypocrisy and the irony of everything that's going on, that of all days, it's effectively one of a few genuine white pride days, because that's in fact what it is. Either Irishmen are not white, or it is in fact a white pride day. You choose. I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day because no one in my family has been to Ireland or has been associated with Ireland for God knows how many generations. I don't even think my grandfather's father was from Ireland. Maybe he was, but I don't think he was. I think he was born in Canada. So we're talking about fucking 5 generations ago. Maybe someone in my family was actually from Ireland. So I don't like St. Patrick's Day. It's essentially an ethnocentric holiday that has been watered down to such a degree that the idea is, well, anyone can be Irish, and that is simply false. You're either Irish or you're not. That is the fact. It's an uncomfortable question that we've avoided for so long and watered down to such an extent that everyone is very carefully tiptoeing around the fact that it is effectively, along with the Polish holiday, it is in fact a white pride holiday, but we don't want to call it that. So we'll in fact water it down to the degree that anyone can be Irish, even though that is false. If everyone can be Irish, then no one is Irish. You have to be specific. It's a specific holiday. It's about a specific place, a specific people. It either has meaning or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, don't have the holiday. And that's my opinion. That is my opinion. No fucking Polish holidays, no Irish holidays, no black holidays, no bullshit holidays. The only holidays that America should have are American holidays. All other holidays should be fucking banned. Whether in the Constitution, by federal law. I mean, the way that the country is currently, it should just be banned. They should be prohibited. Because it's either meaningless, like St. Patrick's Day is, and boring, just tedious with its absurdity, just tedious. Or its dangerous holidays like Black History Month, bullshit holidays like Martin Luther King Day, just a false day on a false promise for a reality, an ideal that never occurred. Martin Luther King was nothing but a fucking failure. And the problem is, I really wish that he wasn't assassinated so that he could have lived to today where he could see his vision had failed. That what he wanted for America never fucking happened. And he would live to be a fucking failure and remembered as a failure. That should be Martin Luther King Day. Celebrate the man who tried and failed to change America for the better for blacks. He is celebrated for something that never happened in the end. It's about his ideals and his demagoguery. Nothing more. Nothing more than his empty fucking words. If he would have lived, he would have lived to see his vision never come true. Because black people today are worse off than they were then, when he was given those fucking speeches. Black people on the whole are in a worse position now than they were then. And Black History Month is nothing more than an ethnocentric or potentially ethno-nationalist holiday. It celebrates the idea of black people being separate in America. And I'm sorry, in America, there's no room for whatever ethno-nationalist bullshit is coming from the Indians or from the blacks or anybody else. The only celebrations that should be happening in the United States, the only thing that's worth celebrating is America. Americans and America. That's what should be celebrated in America. Not foreigners, not spiritual foreigners, not foreign ideologies, and not people who see themselves as Americans in name only, that want something other than to be American. Those people should not be celebrated in America. They should be prohibited from doing so in the way that it's done. Because it is, in fact, dangerous in two regards. One, for the civil harmony of our society. That's just obvious. The more that you perpetuate the idea of we're different, you're you, we're us, we're different, and that's the whole point of it. The more civil strife you have, and that is no way to have a functioning society. Celebrating perpetual difference will only result in disaster, and that is one of the reasons we have all these Asian hate crimes, anti-Asian hate crimes, I should say. It's based on that. The separation. You're you, we're us. You're you, we're us. And therefore, that's what happens. This is why it's happening. If everyone views themselves as American, if everyone is in fact American, then this kind of violence won't occur. You will have other kinds of violence because that is the nature of humanity, but this particular kind of violence would not be occurring. Or if it was, it would be significantly less than where we are now, where apparently violent crime is exploding, according to everyone, including mainstream media. Like, everyone's just saying it now. People were saying forever, oh no, crime's going down, crime's going down. I was saying crime's going up. All of a sudden, we're all on the same page. That crime is going up. Violent crime is suddenly a fucking problem. Well, there's only one thing that you can do. You have to crack down on it. You have to use force against criminals. That's your only option. But the thing is that everyone involved, is doing everything but addressing the brutal nature of humanity, which is, to me, the obvious fact of society, of humanity, of life itself, is that force is on some level necessary, whether it's the capitalists on the right, supposedly, or all the leftists. Violence is necessary for stability. And the fact is that there is a moral use of force. There is a way in which to use force that is, in fact, moral. More moral than not engaging in that violence. And that is against criminality. But this is the thing, whether it's people on the right that are some, not all, but some, the younger they are, the more slippery they are on this. I find. The older ones seem to get it. Older Republicans, boomer, Team Red types, they understand this. They couldn't explain this to you on like a fucking PowerPoint presentation in that kind of complexity. but they understand morally that force is necessary. And it seems that it's why I've never called myself a libertarian, and I despise the anarcho-capitalists and all those kind of people who claim to be on the right. It's because they themselves view force as the greatest evil, that we can evolve beyond the use of force. And the left wing is the same way. All force is evil. And we should create a system, an ideal system, where it is impossible to use force and no one uses force, whatever else. But the fact is, the nature of humanity is brutal. So as a prerequisite, if we're going to have civil society, it requires force to be used. Not unjustifiably, not arbitrarily and the rest of it, but morally speaking. You have to use force to have a civil society. It is a prerequisite. And the direction of, who should be targeted for the use of force are criminals. Nothing I'm saying here is all that complex. But the fact that we're now debating that, we're debating the idea of, well, you can't have the police using force. Oh my God, the police shot a criminal. Oh, I'm weeping on camera. Oh, I'm crying. Let me send out a tweet that this criminal was shot. And people are doing that because they think that we can live in a society without the use of force. They think that we can have policing without the use of force, that it'll be voluntary. Policing will be voluntary. Excuse me, sir, you've committed a crime. You need to come with me. Oh, I consent, sir. Allow me to come with you. I have just committed a crime. That's what they think. That's what these people think, whether it's the people allegedly on the right or the leftists, just the whole left. They think that we can have a legal system that is just done by consent. That's what they think. And it's not possible. So when you have black people committing all these crimes, they're still viewing that through the same lens. They're still seeing all this criminality, and they're saying, well, we can't use force. We can't use force. Using force is morally wrong. And the problem is that these black people are just like, well, I'm just going to do it all then. I'm just going to get away with it. You pass these bail laws, well, I'm just going to get out of fucking jail, and I'm going to keep committing crimes. Whether it's you give me no bail, or you get me out of prison, or you step in the way and you prevent the police from arresting me, or you do whatever. All this so-called police reform, all it does is tell criminals to keep going, to keep committing crimes, to keep being more and more and more violent. The only thing that deters criminals from engaging in crime is force and fear. Those are the only two things that act as a deterrent. Force and fear. And the fear is of the use of force. Those are the only two fucking things, the only two tools in your belt. That's all you fucking got. And those are the things that we're trying to take away, that we're fucking endlessly complaining about. And it's everybody, man. It's everybody. It's all of you. It's every fucking person online. It's every fucking commentator that I listen to. It's my own parents. It's fucking everybody. Everyone around me is constantly complaining about the use of force. Everyone wants this fucking dream world of a society where laws are enforced voluntarily, where it's all voluntary. And it just drives me insane. I know how that sounds as like a tangent away from this, but no, I'm telling you, it has everything to do with the rise of these hate crimes. Because the black people don't fear shit! They think they're gonna get away with these crimes, so that's why they do them! The one example I showed you of when the black guy stopped being violent was when another Asian person pulled a gun, brandished the fucking gun, and I guarantee you, if that fucking guy was white, he would have been the one being arrested. Because that's a crime. The Asian guy brandished his gun, and the black guy was like, nope, I fear you using that gun on me, so I'm going to walk away. And if that guy was fucking white, he would have been the one going to fucking jail. But he's Asian, so he got away with it. He got away with something that is a crime. To me, it is just the clown world. The clown world of the state of America. And so, this is the inspiration. It really is the frustration with, of all people, big dick conservative, Steven Crowder's dad, multiculturalism works. You're trying to say that multiculturalism doesn't work? You're a Canadian! Shut the fuck up! Go back to your fucking country! The failed nation you left! Fuck you, man. Seriously. Oh, man. Fucking Steven Crowder's immigrant dad. Fucking Canadian comes here, leaves his own country because it's a leftist shithole, comes here, and then advocates the same fucking left-wing policy that destroyed Canada. California conservatives. This is what this is. Oh, I'm from Texas. You trying to say this? I'm from Texas. You know, I'm from Michigan. I'm really from Michigan. No, you're a Canadian. You're a fucking Canadian. You think like a Canadian. You call yourself a conservative, but you're arguing the same shit. I've seen Steven do this. I've seen his dad do this. I hate it. You're all Californian conservatives. You just reflexively go to left-wing policy. You just accept left-wing notions without a second fucking thought, even when in the same fucking video you do a segment about how what you just said is provably wrong. I didn't intend to get this angry in this video, but it really is the anger that I feel, where initially my reaction is to roll my eyes, but deep within me is just pure rage, because I am intelligent enough to understand the layers of fucking hypocrisy and irony and just the degree by which that your commentary is detrimental. That here you are, like, I just can't stand it. That you're the big dick conservative in the fucking room, like Steven Crowder's dad, the arch fucking conservative, just on a fucking dime, doing a 180 to multiculturalism works. Who says that it can't work? And everyone on the show fucking nodding their head. It's like, God, this is the right, you know? I just wish that any of these shows had somebody on that, you know, and this is always like the pitch. You know, get me on a show, give me a job, Steven Crowder. You don't have anyone on your show who's really a nationalist. You don't. And the thing is that, like, I have been a nationalist my entire life, whether I was left-wing or right-wing. I have always had the disposition of being a nationalist. It's always how I have felt. And my politics have always incorporated that view. That irrespective of where I landed on the political compass, so to say, I always had the disposition of that of a nationalist. It's something that has been rock solid throughout my entire fucking life. To the degree that I was in any way politically conscious, I was a nationalist. And that has stayed true forever, throughout everything in my life. And what I can't stand is that it's so clear. It's so clear that so many conservatives, that they're just foreign to that concept. They are foreign to the idea of genuine nationalistic beliefs and concepts. They're so unaffiliated with it, they're so unaware of it, that when a fucking left-wing concept just floats into a conversation, every single so-called conservative agrees to it, and they all shake their head, and, you know, nod their head in unison. All of them at once. And it's like you're agreeing to something that is fundamentally anti-conservative. To say that immigration is just by definition good, multiculturalism works, and that all the rest of it, all the other implications of what you're saying, to just accept that in whole, without a second thought, without any kind of caveat, any kind of acknowledgement that you just contradicted yourself. It just says to me that you are not as thoughtful as you think you are. And you're not as grounded as you think you are. Because all this bullshit about diversity and internationalism, it is all purely abstraction. It is all up in the abstract, all in the ether, all in the sky. It's all an ideal. It's all conceptual. None of it is on the ground real. None of it is practical. None of it is pragmatic. None of it is political realism. Not at all. It's all conceptual. It's all an abstraction. All of it. 100% of it. Because the fact is that when it's tried, when it's implemented, it has been a spectacular fucking failure. That reality contradicts the message that you're sending forth. That this ideal is what is good, but in fact, reality speaks against it. That it brings more chaos, more harm, more disharmony. Just, it is awful. It is not functional. And yet you still abide by this concept. Why? And you call yourself a conservative. What the fuck are you conserving? What society are you conserving? Exactly. When you take this concept that the left wing has put out and you just accept it in whole and just entirely without a second thought. It's just unbelievable. Unfucking real. And that's why it inspires such anger in me. Because you're not thinking about what you are saying. You're simply not thinking. You know, this is just, oh, well, conventional wisdom. Oh, well, conventional wisdom. Well, what if it's not conservative? Maybe think about it a little bit more. Maybe put a second thought, a second of thought into conventional wisdom. It may be what it is, but just because it is conventional wisdom doesn't make it right or conservative. Anyways, I'll stop there. I have other ideas for other videos that I could be creating, but I've kind of blown out my voice in this, so we'll see. All right, thank you for listening.